Hi, it's me, Anti-Black Barbie, the all-watchful eye of anti-blackness. So, in today's segment, we're going to be going over a character by the name of Doughydaddy. There's a lot that's going on with him, but kind of where it begins is one of my good Judies by the name of TruthSpeaker02 kind of ended up calling him out on the timeline of Twitter for his contradictions. Basically, Doughydaddy kind of has a history of trying to correct other black people for centering whiteness when you literally can't seem to find a single black person on his page. Not in his likes, not in his replies, barely in his following, and he definitely does not repost any kind of media with an actual black person in it. If he does post a picture, it's always going to be with two white people or a white person. It's just always white. So, and I will say I find that extremely alarming, but I'll kind of go ahead and highlight why I think that a little bit after I show you the initial tweets of the altercation. So here you go. My perspective, if I had to side with somebody, obviously it would be TruthSpeaker02, also known as the Colors page, because one look at his page, and it's just fairly obvious that he has absolutely no appreciation of black people. So as to why he feels like he needs to be the spokesperson of all people to be correcting people is just beyond me. And I just truly believe that in a lot of these cases, they see these conversations going viral, and they have this sense of anxiety that overcomes them, that they feel like they may be the ones that are next. So a lot of the times they just throw out these little preemptive tweets or say these little, performative things to try and throw people off, rather than just actually showcasing any real appreciation for black people. Because it's like, okay, you're sitting on here saying, all this bullshit, but why not just actually I don't know, like some pictures of black people, respond to them, I don't know, have some in your camera roll. But it's just like, none of that happened. So it's just like, for me, I can only interpret that as he's lying. And just in general, he seemed like a very deceptive person, because I don't want to skip too much further, but a lot of his interactions are just really, really gaslighty. And I'm going to also kind of highlight a pattern of deception that he kind of showcases later in these tweets. So I'm not going to jump too far ahead, but just put a pin in it that he does have a history of just doing very deceptive and gaslighty things around these conversations. Because the reality is even if he knows that he gets with black people, anyone with a brain can look at his page and come to the conclusion that there are no black people on it. So even if he understands that, there should still be some kind of level of awareness to be like, okay, well, maybe there are no black people on my page, so I can understand why you came to that conclusion. But his general response is always, well, no, I still get with black people. It's people of all different types of races that are, I'm dealing with. He's just so full of shit. And it's just like, your page is very clear. You have one type, and we know what it is. And for me, sometimes I really do question if he even sees himself as black, because as I was mentioning a little bit earlier, even when it comes down to the media that he uses, there are no black people in it, which I find very, very concerning. And not to jump too far ahead, but there's even a tweet that he says a little bit later, which kind of reads the following. As a non-white gay, I was not emotionally mature nor in the right headspace to be topping 37-year-old dads at 19, but they were the only ones preying on me. So I just kind of want to unpack why this statement is alarming, and for two reasons. So A, I'm failing to understand why he's referring to himself as a non-white gay. In this scenario, he would have just said, as a black gay, I was not emotionally mature nor in the right headspace to be topping 37-year-old dads at 19, but they were the only ones preying on me. So basically what I interpret that as is him trying to distance himself from his blackness, disassociate, because they feel like as long as they don't describe themselves as black, that people are not going to see themselves that way. And that's typically not ever going to be the case. And then my second point why I find this strange, and I'm not going to speculate too far into it, but I mean, the obvious red flag is the fact that he's 19 getting with 37-year-olds. Now, I feel like everybody's entitled to their own opinion of what race the people were, but in my opinion, I'm assuming that it was older white men, because it's just common knowledge that older white men are always preying on younger black boys when they realize that they are no longer desirable in their own community and need to go ahead and kind of exercise their social currency elsewhere. So, I'd be fascinated to hear what you all think. And I'll just throw in another disclaimer. Maybe there's another scenario where he just had a very, very tumultuous relationship, maybe with his family, his friends, and he ended up coming to some conclusion that white is better. But regardless of what happened, I think it's very obvious that something happened, and he's centering whiteness for whatever that reason is. So I'm not going to end up trying to speculate one way or the other. I'll allow you all to kind of form your opinions that way. So we'll go ahead and move over to the next segment. Shortly after the interaction between True Speaker 02 and Doughydaddy, I find it very funny because for the first time in about forever, I noticed that there was a black person on his page, and I was just like, I mean, can we be any more performative? And the thing that really bothers me about this is, like, if you're not attracted to black people, please do not put on a front, because it's actually really damaging to the parties involved that really try to defend him and see the good in him. Because I mean, I'm going to show some tweets in there where there's just literally people caping for him, and it's just so embarrassing to me, because it's just like, when are you going to understand that he is not attracted to you? He will never be attracted to you, and he has never been attracted to you. And no amount of caping or being up his asshole is going to make him appreciate you more. And I think the most frustrating part about it all to me is they don't seem to understand that they really do contribute to the detriment of their own, like, demise, because it's just like, you know, rather than holding him accountable and actually making him show appreciation for black people, they allow him to do nothing but play in snow and play in their faces. And for me, it's just like, what are we doing here? Like, this isn't productive. And for me, I don't necessarily understand the behavior. I feel sorry for them. And it's actually very damaging to one's psyche, because what's going to end up happening is time and time again, they're going to keep defending these people, and they're going to keep showing you that you aren't their preference. They're going to keep popping out with white partners, and you will continue to be disappointed. So for me, it's just like, I just wish that these people would start waking up and smelling the coffee, because if 1 + 1 = 2 and 5 + 5 = 10, then what are we not getting here? Because it's common sense to me at this point. If you don't see a single black person on his page, I mean, yeah, more than likely he's not attracted to black people. For me personally, it's not rocket science. Where there's smoke, there's fire. But, you know, maybe I'm just crazy and the spawn of Satan, like everyone says. So anyways, let's go on to the next segment. The final portion is him basically going back and forth with one of his ex-mutuals by the name of Caleb B. Jackson 00. They go by they, them. So if you do end up leaving a comment, let's just make sure that we say that in there, because that is important. So to kind of actually elaborate on what actually ended up happening was, Caleb B. Jackson 00 was under the impression that Doughydaddy voted for Trump because they noticed that Doughydaddy A was following a lot of Gay for Trump accounts. B, they were co-signing a lot of like pro-Trump tweets. For me, I can't rationalize any black person who does nothing but play in snow not voting Republican. Like, it's just, they can try to convince you that they don't, but they're typically lying. And kind of what ends up happening is they ended up going back and forth about it, and he ends up posting a picture showcasing that he voted for Kamala. Now, I just really want to break down why that's weird as fuck. If you're a black person, most people are going to typically assume that you voted for Kamala. You're not going to need any kind of proof. And there's not much really to say outside of you voted for Kamala. So in my mind, only two scenarios are really possible. Either A, you voted for Trump and you got a random picture online and you just know that people are going to challenge you because they saw that you were defending Trump on the timeline and you just wanted to, like, shut them up. Or B, maybe you did vote for Kamala and you realized that people were pressing you and you just wanted some kind of proof. But I lean more so towards the first scenario, because they ended up, well, in the midst of that interaction or that altercation, I kind of start to interject myself, and I ended up saying, like, hey, like, if you want to show the receipts, show the receipts, but don't sit here and show us half the ballot box and try to make it seem like that's some kind of form of, like, evidence, because it's not. Anybody can pick up a picture of a ballot box that said Kamala Harris and Tim Walz, so it doesn't really prove anything. And so I just want to leave that there. So for me, I don't know. I really want to hear you all's opinions. I personally believe he voted for Trump. You know, nobody can change my mind. And, you know, if I'm wrong, then please show me the receipts with your name on it, and I would be happy to go ahead and take the video down. Okay, maybe I wouldn't take the video down, but I will follow up with a correction video, because yeah, this is my first one and I'm just really not in the mood to take this down. So I want to hear you all's opinions, and if you have anything to say, please go ahead and like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one.